Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well. Today I actually want to jump into a conversation that was between the People's Guild and Tales from the Cryptmancer. And it's from episode 144 of People's Guild. You guys need to subscribe. You guys need to check out the channel. You need to watch all their stuff. Every single one of their videos is fire, and this one was no doubt, no exception. And Tales had some amazing things to say. There was a multitude of conversations that they had within it. But I want to focus fire on one particular issue, which was Bitcoin in Splinterlands. And so we're going to talk about that. I do think that there are some pros. I think there may be some cons. I think we need to discuss it. And I absolutely am desperate to see that our community would continue this conversation. Whether or not the answer ends up being yes, that we would actually continue this conversation. I hope that sounds interesting. I hope you stick around. If you don't want to, check out the next video. Take care. Let's get it. You know, it's about a half an hour of this 2-hour conversation where they actually tackle this topic. And I don't necessarily need to show you an excerpt, but I wanted to feature the picture because this is the thumbnail in question for the video that I thought was really valuable. And there was way more than the topic I'm touching. So go watch the whole video. Like, the issue that I'm focused on in this video is our reward structure within Splinterlands needs to be sustainable. We agree to that. I know we do. We are no longer at some point going to have SPS, and actually that time is fast approaching. And so if we don't have SPS for the rank rewards within Splinterlands, then how do we financially incentivize? How do we set ourselves apart as a Web3 game? Like, I mean, how are we saying to people this is a financial opportunity if there's no financial opportunity? And I would argue that I might argue, and I don't want to go far down this road, but you could argue the financial reward is not exclusively from the SPS. Suffice it to say, the SPS is a meaningful piece of the reward structure within the game, and I want to see that system sustain itself. It is not going to, unless we recreate some sort of new pathway. So the point is, this game is unique because it rewards you for your time and effort, your time and attention. That structure and system will end. A major piece of it with the SPS handout coming to an end, I think in like a year and a half or 2 years. It's not far off. And then if we agree that that's an important piece of what makes Splinterlands special, we should have a conversation about sustaining the reward structure, extending it beyond that. And frankly, there are no, in my opinion, widely accepted answers to that conversation. Some would say there should be no more rewards, at least no more SPS per battle. Others would say we should just continue minting SPS and extend or create new SPS. That is possible within the context of how the DAO operates, etc. I don't think it's a wise choice, but it's possible. And then in comes Tales, and he says in this People's Guild conversation, and by the way, I've said this too, what if we introduced a reallocation of assets within the Splinterlands DAO, whereby some of the cryptocurrency assets that are held in the DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization that holds it's literally millions of dollars that are co-owned by all SPS stakeholders. So that's our money. If you have SPS stake, you have a right to a voice in how that's spent. And so do I, and so does every other SPS stakeholder. And the question is, one, do we want rewards to carry forward? Okay, I assume the answer is yes. So then we need to think through a way for that. And the DAO assets were always a piece and a picture of how and why that would be supported. Like, that was literally a piece of why we have a DAO, because ultimately we knew that the reward structure with the SPS would reach an end. And we wanted to have a governance structure and a wallet, or a mechanism at least, by which new rewards could be created through, decentralized autonomous organization, our votes, our opinions. And so we've got millions of dollars in there, and you can see it. This is all public information. You can check it up on Hive and see how much money is in that wallet. And it does regular reports on Hive, so check that stuff out. And yes, a lot of it is held in the form of packs, or it's held in DEC or SPS. And maybe we don't. Here's one of the first criticisms. If we're going to use that funding for a reward structure within the game, then we might undermine our economy, because we're going to take out millions of dollars, or hundreds of thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars, and put it back in the hands of players who are maybe going to sell on our heads. That's one of the criticisms if we're going to talk about that funding mechanism for rewards. But we can't, even if that's frustrating to you, concerning to you, scary to you, you can't let the conversation end there. because we still admit we need a reward structure in this game. There is literally no Web3 if there's no financial reward associated with the game of Splinterlands. And I don't think that's the secret sauce that we've always been looking for, that we've always been pointing to. Splinterlands has always been unique and interesting and revolutionary because why? It's fun and rewarding. There's two pieces to that picture. And if the rewarding system or nature of the game erodes, I mean, that's a massive transformation to what we understand Splinterlands as being. I don't know if that means, I would be out. I'm not saying that, but this is that would be a pivotal change from what we've always been to something new. And I am not for that. So I'm for finding creative solutions to continuing reward structures in this game. And I'm pointing to the DAO and saying, like Tails in this video, there is ways to monetize, to effectively implement new reward structures with that decentralized autonomous organization wallet, that DAO wallet. It's our money. We have the voice over it. We control those keys through the vote of our SPS stake. And we absolutely need to have the conversation now about what we're going to do when SPS runs out, because it might end up being we keep minting SPS. I don't think that's optimal. But it absolutely cannot be that we let reward structure fall away and that this no longer is just a Web3 experience. I think that is ridiculous. I think that literally takes down the revolutionary banner of what this is and why it's even interesting, frankly. Not saying the game isn't fun, just saying that the two pieces being together makes it revolutionary. It's not just a video game, it's a fun and rewarding time and like a place for your time and attention. That's unique. The fullness of that picture. And so let's make sure we're aiming at sustaining that. So what pathways do we have for that? I mean, we could hand out packs, and we should have conversations about that. We could hand out DEC. Maybe that would make some sense. There's some SPS in there. Maybe that's part of the reward structure. Those things are interesting, but they're not deeply sustainable. You know what would be sustainable? And I think within this crypto context, we are people who believe that mass adoption is not yet even here, and that even for Bitcoin, most people are naysayers. Bitcoin, even at $115,000, $118,000 today, most people are non-believers in what Bitcoin represents. They don't even fully understand it. Most people. I bet out of 10 people that you would randomly ask, I still think it's like 2 that would know what it is in a meaningful way, could carry on a conversation with you. Yeah, probably all of them have heard the word Bitcoin. Can they explain anything about blockchain? Do they know anything about, how many are going to ultimately be minted? Why is that important? How do they come into creation? What does mining even mean? No, they don't understand these things because normies don't know crypto. And as a result of that, you see registered investors, people who will take your retirement funds and put it to work. They say typically now, cryptocurrency should represent between 1% and 5% of your total retirement savings. Everyone listening to this video threw that advice out of the window 5 years ago, 4 years ago. If you're like me, you went deep on crypto in 2016, 2017, or maybe earlier than me, because you saw what this is and you weren't thinking 1% of my investment strategy, because this isn't just another thing. It's a brand new tool. Why is all that important? Because I'm making the point, and you either agree or disagree, that for instance, Bitcoin is here to stay. Does that mean it's not going to go down below 118,000? It's only going to go up? No, that's not what I said. I just believe that it's here to stay. And if it's here to stay, then I'm willing to run the ups and the downs of a token like Bitcoin, expecting that there will be future growth potential. I absolutely believe that. Now, that's my opinion. It might not be your opinion. And that is going to be the basis or the foundation for the rest of my conclusions around how we handle the DAO funding. Because if I'm saying the DAO needs to think thoughtfully about creative structures for reward within Splinterlands, and if I'm saying that Bitcoin will be here for the long haul and that number will, generally speaking, go up and to the right, then I'm ultimately saying, why don't we take some of the DAO funding and put it into Bitcoin? And it's not just my idea. It actually, I know Level Up Life said this for land. I ultimately know that my friend Paul TRX said it to me in a recent members only live event. I also know that, Tails is covering it, like I said, on his own channel and here within the context of TPG. And even BitJangles and Jimmy, who are in this conversation too, agree that, man, what are we doing? Of course, it would be great to have Bitcoin in the DAO. of course we think that token's going to go up. Now, I know that there are loud voices in this community who believe that it would be bad to issue reward structures from the DAO. And frankly, I don't understand your thinking. Now, I want to give one sort of, what's this, olive branch? I would admit, and I think Tails and I would disagree on this one point. Tails seems to suggest that issuing Bitcoin payments from the DAO that we would acquire through pack sales, by the way. So it would be this ongoing growth of Bitcoin slowly over time, and that account would grow and grow and grow, I believe, and that minor issuances of payments out of it to represent rewards within the game could be planned in a way that let the Bitcoin number go up, not reach zero again. It would just be this, the quantity of Satoshis in the DAO would grow and grow and grow. The value of Satoshis in the DAO would grow and grow and grow, in my expectation and in my estimation. And so there are people that don't think that reward should happen in that way. And I don't understand it. The one olive branch I can give to those people who might argue, and again, this is pushing on Tails' thoughts, is that there would be sell pressure by any mechanism possible associated with buying of Bitcoin in the DAO. We would have to first sell cryptocurrency tokens from Splinterlands. The DAO has SPS, we could sell that. We're selling onto the heads of all-time lows, right? SPS right now is at 0.7 of a penny. To sell a significant amount of SPS into this market would probably not help the market cap. Short term, is that problematic? Could it be done in a way that was algorithmic, or not? Maybe it's regimented and across time, and it allows a dollar cost average approach where it's not no one day is there this immense moment of sell pressure. There would be thoughtful ways to do that, but I have to admit that is going to represent tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars ultimately worth of sell pressure. And that is going to have some ramification on the marketplace. Now, whether that's SPS token or the DEC token, the same is true. Extra sell pressure would be bad for price. That is a fact. And I do think that Tails probably glossed over that and made it seem like that would be, I think he would say the reward from this approach would outweigh that concern. And I agree. But I want to, for the critics that are going to drop comments here or elsewhere on this idea, that are going to be negative towards this idea, I want to be really clear that would represent extra sell pressure. For a time, I believe that would be the reward would be worth the effort. I believe that would translate to us holding a token Bitcoin, which I believe is going to go up into the red across time, and I believe would make sustainable rewards possible from the DAO to the game, and I believe would take pressure off the team in terms of figuring out funding for things like survival mode, which, by the way, they've been funding. This would make so much sense. And then as we look to the DAO, even in the past already, with how we commissioned Rebellion and then how we commissioned Conclave Arcana, we have to recognize that more and more often, as we look forward to the future, Splinterlands, the company, Steam Monsters, the company, will be employed by the DAO itself, commissioned to accomplish progress within this game. That's how Cryptomancer is paid to work on land. That's how Clayboyne is paid to oversee the operation of the DAO. The funds that we have need to be planned and managed in a way that is thoughtful, creative, and intentional. Right now, we have been passive for 3 or 4 years, and it's crazy, and it needs to end. And so whether or not you agree that Bitcoin is the answer to this issue, or whether or not you agree, or maybe you're more concerned about some of the sell pressure that would be represented if we were unloading some of the DEC or the SPS that goes into the DAO through the pack sales of Conclave, because that's what Tails is suggesting. Half of that could go toward the purchase of Bitcoin, which would fund, future rewards. I can be a little concerned about that, and yet boldly confident that this approach would make a 1,000,000% success, or 1,000,000% logic. It's like they're really, to me, there is like no reason not to. I feel very strongly about this. More than all of this conversation, I hope that we can conclude here. Something has to be thought through for the future reward structure of Splinterlands. What we've talked about in this video and what we've pointed to with respect to Tails and the People's Guild is an idea around future sustainable reward structure in Splinterlands. I think the time has to be today that we begin this conversation, we push this matter forward. What do you know? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Have an amazing day. God bless.